Hello there, welcome back. Getting out of Afghanistan could mean life or death for many Afghans. Maryam Sahar is a former interpreter with the Canadian Armed Forces. She began working with them when she was just 15. She was brought to Canada under the Afghan Interpreter Immigration Program. And she's been worried about her mother and brothers who were in Kabul throughout all of this. I spoke with her earlier this morning. Maryam, good to see you this morning.
Thank you for having me, Rosemary.
So tell us, where is your family right now?
They're right now in Kuwait and soon will be making their way to Toronto.
Wow. So I'm sure that's a big relief for you. What can you tell me about what they've told you about getting to the airport and then getting, past everybody to get onto the plane?
Well, first of all, I'm extremely relieved, and I'm very happy that I was able to get my family to the safety, because it was very hard to get to the gate, and they needed different directions, and they had a conflicted information. So they went twice to the gate where they were asked to come, and I cannot mention the name of the place due to the security reason. So on the first try, they did not get to the gate at all, even though they were there for 9 hours and standing in the very dirty water, without food, without water. And still they couldn't get to the gate. But on the second try, when they went, they followed the same instruction. And of course, whenever he was having a question, he was calling my former military supervisor, Charlotte, and she had some underground connection, and they were trying to help him to get to the gate. And it was very crowded. People were very, very desperate. My brother had a very hard time breathing. My mom had a hard time breathing, and my little brother had a hard time breathing as well. And they were standing in that water, dirty water, for 4 or 5 hours before the special forces came out and picked them up. And then when they were picked up and they went inside, then they were waiting under an extreme sun for more than 9 hours without food, without water. But eventually, as my mom said, even though it was very difficult, but the important thing was getting them to safety. So they suffered, and they accepted that pain and hardship for the sake of having a safe flight and getting on the flight. And that really happened. Yes.
Can you tell me how fearful they were for their lives, or how fearful you were for their lives if they hadn't managed to get out, Maryam?
Well, Rosemary, please know that my brother was kidnapped in 2011. He was tortured by the Taliban, and I was the only female interpreter in Kandahar. And due to the kidnapping and torture, my family relocated to another part of the country, and that's how I was able to also apply to come to Canada at the age of 17 without my family members. So they were constantly living in fears, because the Taliban have a very good, not memory, even the list, who worked with the foreign forces. When my family knew, we also knew, because I received direct threats at the time as well, that we will skin you alive if we get you. So the threats and the warnings were always there, but we strongly believed in the mission, because my family and I thought, and we still do believe, that the mission was for the right reason. The international community came to Afghanistan to educate us, and I am educated as a result of the Canadian mission in Kandahar, because I was educated in a Canadian funded school. So we strongly believe we were working for a democratic and peaceful Afghanistan. And this is not only about, Rosemary, not about my family members, just because I was an interpreter, and then, because of my gender, that I was a woman, for me the risk was higher as well. Right. But this applies to every single other interpreters as well, and their personal circumstances when they were working for the mission and when they were working with the military.
Canada obviously managed to get your family out, but there's lots of people that you know that are still there. And I wonder, what are your concerns for them right now? The Canadian government says they will continue to work to get them out. What do you make of that?
Rosemary, first of all, I'm extremely happy that my family made it out. But it does not mean that just because my family made it out, everyone else made it to the safety. Yeah. I'm very, very concerned. I'm deeply concerned about the interpreters that are left behind, that are stranded in Kabul, and their families desperate trying to get out and seek safety. And I also strongly believe that they do deserve the safety and the protection of this great country as much as my family deserve. And the Canadian government, brought my family and other families. And I really hope that the government will continue looking into the other ways and options to bring them as soon as possible. Because Rosemary, I'm still, my heart aches for those interpreters and those families, because if they are caught, they will be killed, and they will be killed very brutally, and they will be executed very brutally. So I really, really hope that the news that I'm hearing, that the government is working hard to look into other options and pathways to get them out as soon as possible. I really hope they will accelerate those processes and get them out and bring them to their safe home as soon as possible.
Just quickly, Maryam, what are you going to do when you see your mom and your brothers?
I'm going to be very emotional, Rosemary. I haven't seen them in 10 years. The brother, the 12 years old brother that I have, he was 9 months old. So I don't know my brother at all. I'm going to be very emotional, and emotions can do too many things. And even right now, me talking to you about it, my heart is beating. Yes. And then at the same time, Rosemary, I really want to mention that I really felt this huge guilt within me for the past 10 years that I brought myself into the safety, but I wasn't able to bring my family members, and especially my brother, who's 22 years old now. He was 12 when he was kidnapped by the Taliban and tortured, and I wasn't able to bring that. And that caused me, and that contributed to my PTSD very severely. So it's relieving to know that he finally made it to his safe home, and he will be soon, and I will soon see him. I have integrated into the Canadian culture very well, that sometimes my mom tell me that I don't know that you are my daughter except when you smile. So they literally see me, that I have changed and I have integrated so much. And then also my family is very much looking forward to meeting the people who came into my life. Like, I have a big Canadian family, and that have provided me all the support, emotional, mental, and the financial support. My education sponsors. So they're really looking forward to meeting all these generous Canadians who supported their daughter, who were there for their daughter in the times of need when they couldn't be there for me. So it's going to be a moment, not any other moment in my life, because it's going to be a very exceptional moment, and it's going to be, just to see and hug my mom after 10 years. And I think any mother in this context, any Canadian mother can relate herself to my mom. What they would see and how they would feel when they see their child after 10 years.
Well, Maryam, I hope it is a wonderful moment and that they get here soon. Thank you so much for talking to us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me, Rosemary.